Hello everyone, we are finally here at part 5 of this first project on Frame Academy, creating a WebVR or WebXR site with basic HTML. You've made it this far. We're in the home stretch here, so let's dive right in. I did the challenge for part 4, and this is the result of my work. So I brought in a little bit more text. That was one of the parts of the challenge, bring in some text. And I brought in some instructions so that people who hit the site, they have a better idea of what to do, right? Some people, when they go to a WebVR site, they see it, they don't even know that they can look around, right? They don't know that they can move around, okay? So I brought in some text and I put a little plane as the background, that orange background, so that it pops out a bit more. I gave credit to the Sketchfab artist who made the sheep, and also this new statue that I brought in. So I brought in another model, just kind of filling out my gallery, right? Just slowly kind of adding to this project. I brought in this Easter Island statue model. So it looks great. And yeah, there you have it. Hopefully your project is coming along. Okay, now in this last section, we are going to get into some kind of web development skills that'll really come in handy. And this has to do with the concept of debugging. Now, a bug in software development terminology is like an issue with your code that is causing something unexpected to happen, right? If you're like, oh, maybe your sheep isn't showing up, or something looks really strange, sometimes it can be a result of you messing up your code a little bit and causing a bug. Now, sometimes it's not a bug, you just haven't set it to be what you want. Like maybe if your text is showing up as green, but you want it to be black, that's just a matter of you having the wrong color in your code. That's not a bug per se, it's just a little mistake. In any case, I'm going to show you a few tips and tricks so that you can figure out these bugs and fix them, right? There are a few tools you can use. These will come in handy, by the way, as you continue on with your kind of coding development. And what's nice is like you're already a coder, right? So long as you've written some lines of code and they work, or even if they don't work, in my book, you're a web developer, right? You're coding. Some people are like, oh my God, you're not a web developer until you know 10 different languages and you've written 10 million lines of code and you're getting paid $1 million by Google. No, right? You don't need to be LeBron James to play basketball, right? If you're playing basketball, you're playing basketball. So in my book, right, you're a coder. Anyway, okay, so if you check out the, by the way, you can see all the code that I've done for the challenge right here at the top of the project page. And as always, feel free to just remix this code if you want to just take this base and edit it or change it however you want, or just to see how I've done it, feel free to look. And then of course you've got the preview here on the right. Okay, so I'm going to start us off with some code with some errors in it, right? We're learning how to debug, so I've thrown some problems into my code on purpose. Okay, and now this is what my scene looks like. Everything is messed up. I don't have my background anymore. I just got this weird statue, and this is a good sign, right? Something is not right in my scene. So how can we figure this out? Now, the first thing you can do is kind of like a little bit of guesswork. Because at least some of these entities are loading, right? At the very least, some kind of scene is loading. I know that it's not a problem with this part of my code, right? It's not a problem. So like a frame is coming in, my scene is being created. The scene just isn't right. So I know that it's probably not an issue with this part of the code, right? You kind of narrow it down. Okay, now that I know that it's not a problem with this, where do I go next? Oh, I look inside my scene. So now I'm looking in here. So use some guesswork at first, right? Try to narrow it down to the part of your code that could have some problems in it. Now that I'm here, you can actually see in the glitch project itself, you'll see a little red dot is showing up. Glitch can actually tell sometimes when there are problems with your code, and it will let you know a few ways. This little red dot will show up, and there's a little underline here under these that's letting you know something seems fishy. So, okay, that's helpful. And when I look closely, it turns out, oh, I forgot the end quotation marks for the value of my source attribute, Remember, the value of an attribute has to be inside quotation marks. I've got the opening, but I do not have the closing. I'm going to go ahead and throw my quotation mark right in there. Okay, see how the red dot disappeared? So you might be thinking, all right, we are all good to go. There are no red dots anywhere, so this must be right. Well, let's check it out again. It has fixed a lot of things, right? My scene is, a lot of the shapes are in place, but I still actually don't have my sky, right? My photosphere isn't showing up. So what do we do next, right? I don't see any errors in glitch. What we're going to check out is something called the browser console. And these are web development tools that come with Google Chrome or Firefox or Edge or whatever you're using. It's a really handy thing. And you can pull up the console by pressing Control-Shift-I. Okay? This pulls up this little sidebar. It says console up on this tab here. So this is where you can actually see like a running log of issues and things that are happening kind of behind the scenes when you load your website. And if you see a red error here, this means that usually something is wrong, and it could be something that's really affecting your scene. This is a good place to look. Now, I'll admit, I don't understand everything always that I see in this console. That's okay, right? You don't need to know everything in the world in order to do things and make progress. Now, as you come to learn more and more things in this console will make sense to you. You might already see, oh, GLTF loader took this many milliseconds. Well, I can guess what's going on there, right? It's loading up my GLTF models and it's putting a little log here in the console for me. That's great. Anyway, so I see this red thing. It says access to XML HTTP request. You might be thinking, oh, I don't know what that means. Don't worry about it. But then it's showing up this link. There seems to be a problem with this link. So I'm thinking, oh, did I do something wrong with one of my source links, right? I know the sky is still the problem. So I'm going to look at sky and I see its source. And then I say, oh my gosh, instead of beginning with HTTPS, it begins with CHTTPS. And that's not right, right? I accidentally put a C in there. Just remove the C, okay? And then refresh. Voila, there we are. So quick refresher there. You can pull up the console, Control-Shift-I, and it'll pull up a little log of different logs and errors and so forth. Now that I refresh it, I don't see that red error anymore. It's been fixed. Now, taking a step back for a second, it is true, sometimes it's just these small mistakes like this that cause chaos to happen on your scene, right? It can be you missed a quotation mark, you threw in an extra letter where you didn't want one. And it is true, you have to be kind of careful when you're coding. If you slip up like that a little bit, it can have pretty deep consequences. So you want to be cautious, you want to go slowly, there's no rush, and there you have it. You might also be interested, by the way, when you pull up the console, you'll see another tab called Elements. Go ahead and click that. And by the way, you can pull this up on any website. This isn't special to your project. I could be on the A-frame documentation page. I press Control-Shift-I, and you'll see the console, and you'll see this Elements tab. Okay. Now, as I was saying though, when you pull up this Elements tab, this actually shows you the HTML elements that are on this page. So you can expand out. You see, oh, it's got a scene. You can click on it to show all the elements that are inside of your scene. Now you might be wondering, well, why would I want to do this, right? I can see all of my elements here in my glitch project. Well, that's all good and fine, but maybe you're browsing a different project that someone else made that maybe you found on the Frame Academy gallery, or you found it somewhere else, and you want to think, oh, what's going on there? I'd like to actually check out those elements. You can see the HTML elements for any website that you're on using this Elements tab in the development tools for your browser. And I think that's just incredibly powerful, right? So I really do encourage you, hopefully we get some projects submitted on the Frame Academy gallery, and you can browse them on your web browser. And if you're on desktop mode, pull up the console, but then go to the Elements tab, and you can actually check out the elements, and you can see how they're set up, right? Maybe you're wondering, oh, how did this person do that? How did they make their cube look like that? Well, go ahead and check out the element. And if you want, just copy and paste it into your own project. Okay, very good. So we've gone over a little bit of debugging techniques, right? The first thing to do is think sort of common sense, see if you can rule out any areas of your code. Oh, you know that that's not a problem, so that must be the problem. Check on glitch, see if there's a red dot or a red underline. And then finally, check the browser console with Control-Shift-I. And then, as I showed you, a little tip, check out that Elements tab to see the HTML elements for any website that you're on. It's just incredible. It blew my mind, I won't lie. The first time I learned about that, I thought, there's no way that's true, that I can just do that. But you sure can. Okay, good stuff. For this final challenge, I'd like you to just finalize your project, right? You know how to bring in 3D models. You know how to bring in text. You know how to bring in a photosphere as the background. You know how to bring in a bunch of different kinds of shapes. And you know how to set attributes to modify them in a bunch of different ways, right? Position, rotation, scale, color, width, depth. You know how to browse the A-frame documentation to try to find out some new things to experiment with. So I want you to put some finishing touches to your VR website, your immersive website, and go wild. And as you're going wild, if something doesn't seem right, use these debugging techniques to try to get to the bottom of it so that you can fix it. Now, once you're all done with your project, even if it's just something simple, right? It doesn't matter how complex or simple it is. You should be proud of it, for one thing. You've coded your first WebXR experience. You've laid the groundwork for a lot of cool learning to come. Once you've done it, I encourage you to share it to the Frame Academy gallery. And the way to do that is just in this form at the bottom of the project page for part 5. You'll see a name. You don't need to put in your name if you don't want to. And then just put a link to your project, right? A link to your website. And you can find that. It's just the URL for your project. Go ahead and paste it in and submit it. And then I will put it on a Frame Academy gallery page, which is just going to be learn.framevr.io/gallery. Then we're going to have a cool place where we can all see each other's work and check it out and look at the elements for it. You can do whatever you want with it. Okay, finally, thanks for going through this project with me. Hopefully it didn't take too long. I know that we've only done some basic stuff, but we're really only scratching the surface of what's possible. In future projects, we're going to learn how to make your WebXR site interactive so that you can have people click on things to make different things happen. We're going to learn how to set up animations. We're going to learn how to do really all manner of things, how to make collaborative social VR spaces. But now that you know this stuff, you're in a position to move on and advance. And that's just fantastic. If you got value from this and you'd like to contribute to Frame Academy so that I can keep working on projects like this, you'll see a button at the very bottom of part 5, the site for it, that says Support Frame Academy. Every little bit helps, right? Just an amount for a cup of coffee will drive me to make another project. So I encourage you to support Frame Academy if you got value from this and you'd like to support it. So no pressure, no worries. But in any case, I hopefully will see you in a future project. And congratulations for making it through.